Hello there everyone, Links here with a new video. In this video we're going to be doing some mapping in RPG Maker MV and we're going to be creating a forest. So we are using the FSM Woods Caves tile set that you'll have to purchase on Steam. And we're going to be creating this forest with a river going through the centre, and I'll go over the steps that I do for this. So when I create a map, I usually start with the border as well as the main default ground, and then I focus on creating a path like I've just done. This makes it so it's easier to know where the player is going to be guided, so I slowly work around that. I have some grids on which I tend to work in, but in some cases, like you can see here, I kind of go a bit beyond the grid and just slightly work outside. So with the forest, I tend to use the many different ground auto tiles in order to create a more rough forest-like feel. So we've got the different types of grass, the shadows, the damp grass, as well as the rough bush area and whatnot, along with some flowers along the ground. The whole concept of this map was to make it a relaxing place to walk around and enjoy when you're playing for a game. It'd be an area that could be used as like a camp area, a place where an event takes place. It's not perfectly designed to be used for dungeons, but it could be. So I go around the map sorting out the tree trunks and the canopy over the trees in order to create the shadows that come off. I also put in some of these hills with trees going around, and just to give it that raised up feel to the ground and make it feel a bit more realistic. Some people tend to go a bit too detailed, or they do not enough detail. I try to do a mix of the two just so it's that perfect balance. Some may say it's a bit too detailed, but I prefer to go for a more realistic look. So here I'm going around just adding more tree trunks and canopies to the look of the map, as well as adding some foliage just around the edge of the water. I always go back into certain areas just to improve and modify them, just to link up the different sections I've gone through. I do this multiple times throughout the video, just trying to get that perfect look that I'm happy with. There is no perfect map. Each map is subjective to how you enjoy them. Such as most forests won't have this grass or stuff just laying in the water. I decided to add it just because it gives it a nice feel to the map. So going around, you want to think about where can the player go. Do you want it to be open or closed? In this small area I'm working on now, it's a bit more closed than the rest of it, with only a one tile gap I believe you can enter when I finish this. This would be an area that I'd have a treasure chest or something that's visible to the eye and just simple enough to go around. When it comes to the shapes of stuff, I tend to go for more oval shapes. It feels a lot more natural compared to rectangular straight lines. Unfortunately, with this being an RPG Maker tool, you don't really have curves. All tiles are, well, all auto tiles are kind of got this straight edge, but there are ways to get around it, and luckily the canopies on the trees do help. So as it's forest, I tend to use these bushes, tree trunks laying on the floor, and these big trees just to kind of give it some life. There's also some shrubs that I dot around just to make it more lively. You could imagine searching these different plants and finding different animals and insects and whatnot. Sometimes when I'm going back into areas, I try to make it a bit more diverse. Like I'm not a fan of having the same tiles close to each other. big tiles I specifically don't like close to each other. They just don't work unless it's in a specific kind of environment, but this is not one of those. Along the water's edge, it's always an interesting one because you want to kind of leave a small path jutting out as if you could go that way, but you don't want it to be accessed by the player if they were to go walking around. This is just to prevent the player hitting the edges they shouldn't, but still get to enjoy the map look. When I was creating this map, I noticed that the reeds along the edge of the water worked really well and created a really nice design. This bit here is something that is kind of fun to add, a little hidden area that you'll be able to access through a little walk-in underneath the trees. It's very simple. It's another place where you'd keep a treasure chest that contains something quite nice, and you're going to be filling up this area, make it a bit more compact compared to a lot of the other open areas. Because we haven't got much space in this area here, we're just filling it up with some more wild grass and dotting around a few rocks here and there. We're just putting the canopies over the river just to give it that final perfect look near the riverbank. Along the path, however, we're going to keep cutting up the path, making it look more realistic. We didn't want a solid path going all the way through the map, just so it's a bit more, looks like it's been worn but also unexplored at the same time. I didn't want a track just going straight through the map. It just doesn't feel right. So I just divide it up a bit. I chuck some weeds coming out of the dirt as well, just to give it a really worn look to it. This is a path tile I like to use for forests. There's also really dark dirt. There's a darker version of this path, but this faint dirt mud look kind of looks pretty good. So like I said, I go back, add in some more hills, give it a bit of variety to the map, as well as fill in some of the areas that look a bit bland. I try and find some stuff that fits in the map that doesn't make it look cluttered, but also makes it look quite nice. Then the final things I tend to do with a forest is go around and add in a upper canopy to the forest just to make it look less flat, give it an extra layer of foliage just above, and it creates a really nice effect that you'll see when it's complete. I tend to go with diagonals and straight lines. I never really use the corners with these, just so it gives more shape and you have a bit more control over it. There are a few cases where I'll use the corners, and that's to, well, the sharp corners I should say, and that is to just give it a bit of definition. But these angled corners, they work out really well and it gives a beautiful effect. These leaves do not cast a shadow on the top of the canopy. If it was one of the other treetops instead of this dark green backdrop, it might be worth adding some shadowing just to give it some definition, but in this case shadows are really not needed. I even go outside of where you'd see on the map just to make the map feel realistic. There'll be points in the map where you'll never visit, like this lower right corner you'll never truly see, but it's always nice to have something filled in just in case you ever pan over the map for whatever reason, if you're in an event. And the more you design the maps, the more you'll get used to these skills that you'll develop when designing maps, make them feel more natural and realistic. So we're going up to the final parts of this and just finishing off the canopy, and we're pretty much done. I'll show you the panning of the map in a moment that covers pretty much everything that we have done in this video. As you can see here, we're starting from the top left, just slowly panning down towards the river, showing the detail of the elements that you might not have been able to see in the video unless you were in full screen. But you can see like the weeds coming out of the grass and whatnot. That is that top right area where there is only one entrance to it, and you're heading back down towards the other entrance of the map, just showing off everything we can. And then finally we have just along the river, showing off the reeds and whatnot, as well as the stepping stones. So hopefully you have found this video enjoyable. All details for the map are down below. If you have enjoyed, please let me know. Till next time, thanks for watching and goodbye.